Hello everybody, welcome back to the Communicode podcast with myself and Jacob. You have the pleasure of hearing our voices for the foreseeable, but unfortunately no other guests because we've been slacking. As you can see, our last podcast was like 5-6 months ago, but we've been away. Well, one of us has. And Jacob's been grinding at uni. But today we're just going to talk about what we've been up to, what plans we have in the future for you wonderful listeners, and some little bits and bobs we've learned in the past few months. So, Jacob, how have you been, my friend?
Yeah, not bad, mate. Just been, like you say, working hard at uni, final year, and I've got about 4 weeks left.
Yeah.
And I've got one exam, and that's it. So times are looking on, life's going on.
Yeah, at least one of us has been working hard.
So, yeah, Harry's been away in Asia.
Yeah.
If anyone's been watching his
Lots
videos.
of Asia.
Him and one of our good
Exploring
friends,
myself.
Alfie, have been out in Asia
just loitering, you know. We've just been, I don't really know. We sort of just messed about for a bit, but it was great fun. We were meant to continue the podcast out there, but obviously that didn't go to plan. Mid-January, I was meant to be back, but we're here now. Beginning of April, this is. So I think this is coming out probably around mid-April because we're still going to do. So our plan is, Jacob and I's plan for Communicode is we're going to do 2 podcasts a month, I guess.
Yeah.
And then we've kind of like briefly spoke about it. We're going to do one with just us 2 per month and another with a guest. So don't, stay involved because there will be interesting people on here in the next couple of weeks, I reckon. Hopefully we'll get a good guest for the end of April. And for now, you've just got the pleasure of listening to our voices, which isn't abnormal. But amazing time away. Lots that I learned, lots that were certainly new experiences. But I feel like everybody's life is like that. It's just completely different when you're on the other side of the world. But pretty fantastic regardless.
Yeah, well, that's the sort of thing we go for. We sort of go for, how everyone learns and how we learn together. And I think normally we have where we listen to some really interesting people and learn what they have and learn from them and learn together of what they have to say.
Yeah.
But this is quite a good episode because it's sort of like what we've learned from when we've been away.
Yeah.
And sort of how sort of sharing with you what we've learned, and hopefully you can resonate with that.
Yeah.
And
I mean, we should never go away for this long again.
No.
If we want some sort of good reputation. So that won't happen. And I'm probably not going to go away again really for as long as, it was about 4.5 months. I probably won't go away for that long again.
But I feel like sometimes in life you do have to have like these life experiences to be able to learn things and actually talk to people about stuff. Cause
there was things that I wasn't planning on going to the Philippines, but that was one of the most life-changing countries probably. Yeah. And I didn't even plan on going there. Yeah. And even like a place like Singapore was, every experience that I had was, it was very different but incredible. And I'm sure even like stuff that, like I felt like in a way it was good to go away for a few months because we went straight into the podcast. We didn't really have a clue what we were doing. Made many mistakes at the start. We're still far from perfect, but the more we do, the better we get. We've just been learning lots of different things while we've been away. I'm sure you have as much as I have, but it's
probably very different things.
Yeah, probably. But then lots of similarities. Like I came back and I realised how different our worlds are to the people over in sort of particular parts of Asia, and also a great sort of thing to start today off is like how ungrateful people are over here. It is baffling.
It's crazy because I haven't been to Asia, but I've been to sort of other places where there's such a different culture. Yeah. And you sort of go there and say, okay, everyone is happy. It's really nice. But also when you come back, you'll sort of feel like we do just have everything, and we are like incredibly lucky. Definitely. And I think that, and it's also that people are ungrateful, but at the same time, it's like life's always going so fast that you don't have time to think about how lucky you are, how grateful you are. You're just sort of going 100 miles an hour. You're not really taking anything in. Yeah.
Yeah, and I also think our culture in England is very unique because I was talking to somebody last week from America, and I've never been to America, but that is I'm planning on going later in the year, hopefully for maybe I'd say like a couple of months, not as long as Asia. And they I think the thing is, when it comes to success, let's say success, or, you know, money, whatever, when anybody excels in America, I feel like everybody is very, they praise it, and like they're really happy for them. I think, I could be wrong, but that's what I have kind of found from talking to various people in America. Whereas, and I think my dad's actually said it as well when he's been the past few times, whereas here, because we're doing something different, we're like just having a go at a podcast, seeing what happens, people will just think like, what idiots, you know? Like, there is definitely people that think that. And even when I started making videos and stuff going around Asia, people definitely thought, oh gosh, he's, you know, what is he doing with his life?
Not another one of these,
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like that's what I realised definitely more when I was back. I was obviously praised in many ways by my friends and family for doing particular things. And like, I'm sure you are as well for uni and stuff. Like, we'll always support you. But if you did, it's strange. Like, if you did amazingly at uni and you told people because you were proud of it, people wouldn't. I think a lot of people would be quite jealous and envious, and they wouldn't support you. Like, it would just be like empty words if they were like, "Oh, well done, mate." But I think in different cultures, especially like in Vietnam, like I went on a 4-day moped tour, and I went to some of the most remote villages, and they were sleeping on their floor, like with nothing, genuinely nothing. And it was obviously extremely eye-opening. I know you see it on all the TV shows and you might see it on my YouTube videos and things, but it's different when it's in front of you. And it really made me realise not only how lucky are we over here, but the fact that they were still very, like, they would welcome us with open arms into their house, and just like, they would make us food, and they had like 5p to their name. Do you know what I mean? And they would still do it. Whereas some of us over here, you know, have very generous amounts of money, but are so scarce. And definitely something I learned was that there's a lot of generosity missing in our culture, I think. Like, you walk past a homeless person and they're just ridiculed, and just completely avoided. And I'm guilty of it. Like, I'm not saying I go to every homeless person and give them a fiver, but it's a completely different culture. And I think it's something that could be improved on. And I understand there's like a dividing class as well in our country, and there is everywhere, but yeah, a bit of a strange experience.
It's strange because, like, especially in this country, you don't really get those community things that much anymore.
No.
Like, back in the day, every family would eat together every evening, and a lot of families do in this country still, but I feel like there is this sort of lack of, I mean, for example, at uni, like, the majority of people do just either take their dinner to their rooms or just don't have dinner together.
Yeah.
And like, for example, some of my best times when I'm at home is going on a Thursday night when me and you and a lot of our friends gather.
Yeah.
And we just have there's no
dinner, you know,
reliance on, for example, alcohol or anything. It's just, you all just sit there and have a good time together. No one's on their phones. Everyone's just sort of together and have it like catching up.
Very present as well.
And I feel like that's just not a thing in this country. I think that's probably similar to what you experienced in Asia. Like, you have those communities where everyone's very close and they're happy to have anyone sort of come into their community and spend time with them. Whereas in this country, like, a lot of people don't do that anymore. And for example, our friends here are so generous by, like, we don't contribute. Like, they cook for us, as in, like, they're happy to do that every week.
And they don't expect anything in return,
Exactly.
which is rare.
Yeah.
It is rare.
Exactly. And obviously it's nice to do it for their, like, they're good things for them every now and again. But that's the point of community, is you do favours for each other. Rather than you're putting on monetary value on this sort of thing.
Exactly. And like, I mean, even when we spoke to Dennis in episode 2, I think he said something that, because he was quite successful in terms of business, but he said something that really recently hit him, was giving to people. And like, he gets joy, and I'm sure a lot of people, like, I've started to realize that I get joy out of giving people things and out of like helping people, because it makes me feel like I'm of use to the world. And it's so interesting, because I was thinking about this the other day, but you know, when you see like these multi-millionaires and billionaires, I think I might have heard it on a podcast actually, why do they still work when they have enough money to like generational wealth? And I think I was listening, and they said it's because they feel like they can be of use to the world. Because like, let's say you're just sat on a deck chair in the middle of Mexico for the rest of your life, you would just roam the world and just be useless. Or you might think that you are useless. I don't think you are to people. but people do it because they want to feel of use to somebody. And I think that brings a lot of people joy. But for some reason, I don't think people seem to realise it in this culture.
Yeah.
And it probably could be similar in America as well.
I feel like there's culture as well. Like when you say giving, you think of giving something to do with money. For example, if you're paying for their dinner, you're paying for a gift, you're paying for something.
Yeah, sure.
And giving's always connotated to like sort of paying for something. Whereas in these other cultures and communities, giving could be, you know, buying dinner for someone who might be in financial struggle. Yeah. Or it could be putting up shelves for them. It could be looking after their kids. It could be anything. And that's what giving is, I think. Like in this culture, we've such associated it with looking after people we look after them by paying for their
and just giving time as well is like quite a good thing.
Yeah.
And it's strange. Like I'm one of the most guilty humans for doing this, but I find with our culture and what I noticed over in Asia in a lot of places is they're not that worried about their future and like having loads of money, having a really nice car, having an amazing house. They are way more communal, like you say. And so for us over here, I am so worried, so I can't speak for you, but I can speak for myself, and I'm getting better at it, about where I'm going to be in like 5 years. Am I going to be seen as a particular person if I don't have that car, I don't have that house, I don't have that, you know, extra zero on my bank balance? And it feels like there's a lot of pressure on young people, definitely around our age, and it's even going down to like the 15, 16-year-olds, that like, oh, you've got to be this person by the time you get to this age or else, or you're just a failure. And that could like not be further from the truth. And if you think when we were like 15, 16, 17, it's going out with the boys, like just on our bikes, cycling around, not really a worry in the world about getting rich and stuff, and like becoming this successful, really powerful human, it's changed so much. And definitely social media is a huge contributor, but it's quite infectious with what's going on with like the sort of the children now. As they get older, they've integrated with social media from like 11, 12 years old. We didn't have that. We started going on social media when we were like 16. But now I feel like it really is getting worse. It's quite a bad problem, but there's not really much we can do about it. But I feel like it's so important, certainly for anybody these days, especially if you're younger, to just not put too much pressure on yourself. I'm trying to get better at it. And I'm sure there's a lot of people that listen that feel so pressured into being this particular type of person, so they can even just fit in with like the normal agendas of the world. And it's strange. Like I saw a TikTok the other day, and it was like, this is the net worth you should have by the time you're this age. And it was like 18 to 24, and it was like a ridiculous figure. Yeah. And I was like, well, and because I didn't have that amount of money, I was like, well, I'm done for then. Yeah. I'm a failure. And it's just so far from the truth. It's such a dangerous thing. Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah,
I think with money as well. Like I think it's a dangerous thing, because if all this sort of social media thing saying you have to have this much by this age, whatever, you need to sort of build a relationship with money, because if you just get all this money, then you're just going to spend more money.
Definitely.
So your expenses will go up. So nothing's really changing.
It's mindset as well. And I think that's why probably people that are so young that make so much money are like, have proper serious mental health.
Yeah, you see these, like when footballers are given loads of money at a young age or whatever it might be, they really
even if you win the lottery, like people, there's like a stat that's like a lot of people that win the lottery, they don't hold on to that money. They'll just spend it. Obviously I was one of them. And
you won the lottery?
No. I think I would, maybe 2 years ago, I would have spent a lot of the money just on stupid stuff. Yeah. And it is dangerous. If you get given like a lot of money at one point, then I think that, the pressures of this day of like having that money, you'll lose it. And like the fact that people try so hard these days, to like flex as well. Like on other people. I think like for ages, I've always wanted this particular car. We spoke about it today. And I really think deep down, why do I want that car? It's so that I can be seen in that car. It's all status. And that is like probably one of the most dangerous things about our generation. And the thing is, like, I'm going to be open about it. I'm probably not going to change. Like, I'll still desire that car. Like, I'm so happy with my car right now, but there will always be a desire to be better and want something more. And until you can really learn to be glass half full, like people that I've met over in Asia that are sleeping on their floor and are so happy with what they have, despite it, I don't think you'll ever feel that fulfilled. And it is a huge problem. And that's something that gave me like anxiety when I got home. Like, after being away in a totally different culture for 4.5 months, I like came back and I was on like a come down. Like, I actually had quite bad anxiety. Like, what am I even going to do now that I'm home? Everything's so expensive. You've got bills to pay, you've got rent to pay, you've got all this stuff to pay, you've got like food, everything, in comparison to spending like £25-30 per day on everything over in Asia. And just thinking, like, you know, just surrounding yourself again with like I think just the fact that a lot of people generally are quite miserable. And I don't mean this in a critical way at all, because like I'm extremely flawed as well, and I'm not trying to be condescending on people. I think that's just how our society is these days. But I don't think there is a cure. I think if you surround yourself with it, like, if you're friends with 4 smokers, you'll be the 5th. Isn't that like an expression?
Yeah, I guess it was when you're... Yeah.
It's that type of thing, you know?
Yeah.
So it is a really difficult one. But anybody listening, I'd really encourage you to leave your hometown and just try and travel, see a bit of the world. Even if it's going to a different country in Europe, because there's just so much to learn when you travel. Like, so much. Amazing. But yeah, we've lived very different lives the past 6 odd months. I mean, you've been working very hard, and I've just been sort of, doing weird
it's all
stuff.
valuable lessons, aren't they? You could arguably say you've probably learned more than me in terms of terms of life skills and stuff. I've just been sitting inside of a...
Yeah, but you're going to go away, aren't you?
Yeah.
What are you thinking for the next few months? Kind of brings us on to what are our plans, really.
Yeah. So, wow, this is the thing. So in 4 weeks, I've got my final exam. Yeah. And that'll be finished with uni. My band are then playing, we're headlining a festival sort of thing in Bristol, so we'll have that.
Unlimited wine.
Yes.
So I'll be there, hopefully.
So that'll be a bit of work for that. And then after that, that's sort of where it goes. So I've got a few things planned, sort of travelling here and there. We talked about going away somewhere maybe.
Yeah, could be good.
I think that I'll probably head to Asia as well, sort of late
copying
September, October time.
Yeah, you should, mate. You got to.
I think it'll be good, and I think that'll probably be about 3 or 4 months, and I'll come home.
Yeah,
and then we will continue to hopefully expand this a little bit.
Definitely,
sort of get a community going within it, so it's not just a podcast.
Well, we've realised that there is so much. I think there's a lot of people that would listen to this and actually can relate to what we're saying. Like, we're not just like some speaking some foreign language, and people want to be involved in something that is like a community that, you know, is very similar to the different countries I've been in, and we want to try and bring that to people over in the West. And I think like a community type feeling is really, really impactful for the better in anybody's life. Like, the amount of joy I feel when we just go to one of our friends for dinner, we just all sit around, have a conversation, have a laugh. Like, it is surprisingly quite a rarity to get that privilege over,
and
certainly in our culture.
How easy is it to do that? Do you know what I mean? It's so easy.
I know, and it's all around building relationships with people, and not just building a network so that you can use this person in a few months down the line, you know. Like, it's real relationships that you can build with people. And so we want to try and bring that to our audience and our community of listeners in a way. And so definitely a big plan would be to build a community type platform, or certainly maybe like a school community Discord. We're still figuring it all out, but we'll definitely keep the podcast going.
Yeah, we want to make it like sort of easier for people to be able to communicate.
Yeah, of course.
That's the whole thing, really. And,
yeah.
And the more people you have, the more people you're going to be able to learn from, and it'll be so beneficial for us and hopefully other people as well.
Yeah.
Which is the aim, really. And to bring more people together.
Definitely. Hopefully get some good
Because I feel like also there's a lot of people who have the same sort of is it outlook the right word? So they sort of want to go down the same route and like sort of learn new things and everything. But especially with me being at uni and stuff, like there's not a lot of people like that.
Yeah.
So it's sort of a thing that it can help bring people together at the same point who are interested in similar
definitely
things.
Yeah, so that is exciting. I think short term, this podcast will come out soon, probably in the next, I don't know. Well, you'll obviously be listening to it now. So whenever you are listening to this, individual, hopefully in like 2 weeks.
Great take there.
Hopefully in like 2 weeks, there will be another podcast out with a guest, with actually a good speaker, not just us sort of being a shambles.
Well, that's the thing. I think we definitely have improved since the start. And obviously, there's always room for like, we're still very, very, like, we're still not good at all.
Average.
But
recording this in my dad's living room right now. So it's all fun and games.
But I think we definitely have improved with our speaking.
Yeah. And we'll look back and think it was all part
and
of
it shows like how you know, practice is the means for improvement.
Makes perfect.
Wow.
That was weird. Yeah, big time. So there was a lot of things that happened on my trip, but I would like to ask you, Jacob, when you did 75 hard, which was last year, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Has anything in you, honestly, changed since you did that? Because it's quite intense thing.
Yeah.
And I've been thinking about doing loads of different things like that. And like I try my best to stick to a schedule. But is there actually anything that you learn from it? Because it's a difficult thing to do. If you don't know what 75 hard is, I don't even know what it is. No, you don't drink for 75 days.
Yeah.
You have to drink what water?
So you make yourself sort of a diet. Not a diet, you don't make a diet, but you follow some sort of...
Like a plan, right?
Yeah. So for example, what I did was I chose to only eat things that like you knew all the ingredients for. So you wouldn't eat anything with like...
Wow. Decent.
Added stuff, like emulsifiers and like chemical stuff.
Yeah.
So that did keep like my eyes open to like... That sort of brought my attention.
I guess you get more aware of things like that, don't you?
But obviously being a uni student, you can't really like go and spend those money on like organic stuff. So it was still like I haven't been doing that since, but I have definitely been more aware of things that are not as healthy for me, especially because you think like in the supermarket you think anything's sort of right to buy, but it's really not. Like, very little stuff has like nothing added in, which is quite mad.
It is quite bad. It's getting worse as well.
I found that I was like never tired. So majority of the time, everyone's sort of like really tired. Everyone drinks lots of coffee. Everyone drinks lots of tea.
Yeah, sure.
And that's sort of like at the time of 75 hard, I wasn't tired at all. And I think it was down to drinking so much water. Like I was probably drinking like 3.5 litres of water a day. Well, that's what the amount was.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Obviously, I don't do that now. Like, I'm not as good as that now. But I found that's probably the reason why it was so...
It's hot. It's a challenge.
Yeah, but I think that's the reason why I actually felt like so like, energized all the time, which is so good. Also, you have to do 2 lots of 45-minute like workouts a day.
Yeah, which is mental.
And I don't do that now, but I would love to be able to just go for a 45 minute. I used to do like a long walk every day. Like it used to be so good. But obviously, it's not. I'm nowhere near as what I was doing then.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think that. In relation to like uni and stuff, so this will take it on to like a little bit of a turning point in subject, but I find that interesting because when you mentioned uni and stuff, obviously it's quite difficult to do bits and bobs. Do you feel like do you feel like with the opportunities that there are today, this is going to be so random, you know, like the school system, do you not feel like it needs to adjust way better?
Yeah, I mean...
Because I probably shouldn't even be saying this on a podcast. Yeah. I didn't do anything in my whole school and college time to do with digital marketing.
Yeah.
And now I think I know more about it since starting my agency in August than if I'd have learned it over like 3 years in college. Yeah. Probably.
So that's the thing, like, literally anything, even the stuff you learn at school, is accessible online. You can learn anything whenever.
And homeschooling as well.
Yeah.
I was homeschooled for like 2 years, to year 10, 11. And it is like it's increasing more and more day by day. And I just think it's a topic worth talking about, because as people get older and as new generations come into the world, I really do think the fact that we're getting taught the same things as like 60 years ago is so silly. When like we need to integrate stuff like AI, I think. Yeah. Because I will talk to ChatGPT like he's my mate most days. But that could figure out, like ChatGPT could figure out how to make £10,000 with the skills that you've got. Like, you know what I mean? So even if you had no skills, it would give you a skill to learn. And it will literally create a blueprint and probably make money for you. Yeah. Or, you know, it can solve a lot of problems.
I feel like the world has changed so much, but obviously the schooling thing hasn't. And I think with like AI and stuff, like a lot of people are, because they're so amazed by what it can do, it ultimately makes them scared about what it can do. And at that point, when people are scared about something, they just sort of like, we ignore it. You know? Yeah. So they don't. They are all scared about like what it could do to us, so they don't teach people about it. They just sort of like throw it under the rug, like, no, you can't use this with your assignments. You can't use this. It's all, you know.
Yeah, you're right.
Whereas
you can't avoid it.
If you can use it, if you can teach people how to use it as a tool and how it can help you do things, like it would be great.
I think the exact same about social media too. Yeah. If you can use it as a tool and not be a servant to it, I'm still a servant to it.
But they don't teach it because they're worried about people becoming so addicted to the bad things and bad sides of it that they just brush it under the rug and say it's, you know, just...
It's not worth teaching.
Yeah.
But it should be. I think it definitely should be.
Yeah.
And like, the mad thing is that I think there's don't get me wrong, I think school in many ways was really good for me because I became quite social. I didn't have that many friends. But it helped me with social skills, obviously, growing up. It gets you ingrained into like the world. But the real world is totally different to anything school. Like school is like a tiny little box, and as soon as you leave that box to go into college and then go into the outside world, it's totally different to anything I experienced. And the fact that you have so much access as well with the likes of social media and AI to contact anyone in the world at any moment, offer anything, have a conversation about anything, you know, like that is something that I think should be addressed certainly a bit more. It's a quite an important point to make up, and I also just have no idea how children and like young adults that are a bit younger than us will be able to acclimatise and adjust to social media, because obviously we've seen quite recently shows like Adolescence come out about the dangers of social media around young people and children. Because let's think, when you were bullied back in the 80s and the 90s, or you know, whenever, even in the sort of early thousands and even 2010s, like it would end at like 3 p.m. when you finish school. But now it is like, it can be 24/7 because people are going to be messaging you, people are going to be putting stuff online, you know, like bullying you non-stop. And it's only just coming out how effective and how bad and toxic that is to young people now that social media is such a huge factor in everybody's lives. And I think it's good to be educated on it, but I still don't think the school system does anything really about it.
No, I feel like this is what I was sort of thinking about a lot of the time. Sort of when you see these people with lots of influence online, and I look at it and see, okay, I can distinguish the good and the bad in this.
Yeah.
And I can apply the good things to my life and leave the bad things out of my life. I feel like with young people, they take it all as face value, and
definitely,
and they can't differentiate, which means they're going to take everything says online, and we all know that. We may not know that you shouldn't believe everything you hear online.
It teaches you to question more, though. Especially with the fake fake.
Yes,
things.
It does, and maybe it doesn't. Maybe some people just take everything at face value, and it damages their lives. Whereas I think I'm old enough now to look at it and sort of feel like, okay, I can distinguish between them. Younger people, it could be more damaging because they don't know what to take and what not to take, and they sort of just think that this is right when it's not.
And people, like, it's so easy to sell something to like a vulnerable person these days that could completely ruin their life. Like if you could charge somebody, like you could say, I could change your life on, like you could message someone in like Australia, like a 16, 17 year old and be like, I could change your life. Like a little young lad that wants to get rich because he sees all these people online that are 16 allegedly making $100,000 a year or whatever. I mean, get a grip. and that's now the standard.
Yeah.
That's mental.
There's sort of
like,
two things
ridiculous.
I think about. It's sort of like, one, you're seeing a very small snapshot of their lives, right? So they could be getting like, they could, for example, rent all this stuff to show it off online and say, look at my lifestyle. Exactly. Yours should be like this. The other thing is sort of like, think how many people are in the world. Think how many people are online. Think how many people who are making videos online. Think about how many people who are blown up online, and then think about how many people make money and blow up. Like, there's such a small amount of people that have made themselves so successful when 99.999% that isn't normal.
And they all want to try so hard to look like they're the best that's making videos and the best that's making the most money, and like they're that best 16, 17-year-old in the world. But like it's just fake, fake. And like even when I'm making my videos like this, like would like to say that because I'm aware of this, I try to come across as quite real, but it could be so easy for me to just lie about so many things and like funnel somebody to just buy something that I could sell to them. Yeah. And it's like, that is so powerful because you see people that don't even have that many followers these days making ridiculous amounts of money because it's just through like manipulation. Yeah, because
you could be like, I make all this money online. I've made a massive course because
so just edit a screenshot.
Yeah, I'll show like, this is how I live my life. Whereas no one's seen the hard work you put into like earning money before to go to save up sort of stuff. Yeah. Like, and it's just like,
and you could be in like in your overdraft. Like it could be completely false, but you're trying to get your overdraft. So you tell people you're this rich person, and then sell them a course just so that you can like be debt free in your life, and it's actually completely different to how you're like perceived online. So I think it is dangerous in many ways, but
and like you say about your marketing, they don't teach it at school.
No,
like you don't know.
You teach it, but like I think there's so many avenues. Like they don't teach like that much about like things like stock market or like things that could be really lucrative online these days, like anything. And honestly, I've gained more knowledge off YouTube videos, I think, than my whole time in college.
Well, there you go. You've used social media as a resource. Then you've used it as a tool. So it's obviously that's like the sort of benefits, because back in the day you'd have to go to a lecture or find someone who knows this knowledge. Yeah. Whereas you can now watch videos from everywhere in the world.
And I think people probably don't realise how easy it is to get so much these days. Like we were saying earlier, it's never been so easy to make money online and to make quite a lot of money. Yeah. And like all that takes is probably like a night on ChatGPT, talking to ChatGPT, gathering information, and then executing over the next like 3 months. Just through hard work, and you could actually make ridiculous
and the positives that it gives you time freedom. Yeah. So at the moment you're sitting in an office from 9 to 5 every day, and if you like it fulfills you, then great. But if you feel like you're trapped, if you feel like this, it's such a good, easy way to be able to do something online that you enjoy, that has purpose. It makes you a bit of money, and that gives you time freedom where you can go and do what you truly enjoy and what truly is meaningful. So you could literally work online 2 hours a day, get a bit of money. So you can pay your living expenses. Then you can go and, I don't know, volunteer for charity or do something that's really fulfilling to you. And it sort of frees up your time to be able to do the things that you really enjoy. Yeah. Or go and travel or go and do whatever.
Yeah, well I think it's what we're saying is obviously quite controversial to what we've been talking about sort of earlier in the podcast with like the pressure and stuff. So like we aren't saying right now that we're doing all of that. No. We're just saying that it's possible. And the people that sell you stuff online, they might not be false. Like some of it could be true. But I think the extent to which they pressure people these days is so silly. So like I don't think like these days, I think because a 9 to 5 is so frowned upon, like fair enough, I understand. But I think the reason why people frown upon it is because a lot of people know how easy it is to not have one. And like even to have one, but have location freedom, be anywhere in the world while you do it, because everybody works remotely now, or you can work remotely as opposed to being in an office. There's so many possibilities, but it's about obviously capitalizing on them and having that fine line between, if you're ambitious, amazing, but don't feel like you have to do something. Don't feel pressured like I have an obligation to make £100,000 in the next 3 months or I'm going to die. Like that type of ridiculous thing, or like I'm a failure, you know, because we have like it's a bit paradoxical. Like we have so much time. I think like time moves very, very quickly, and we only get this life once. But I think once in a while to just sit back and think about where you were a few years ago and who you are now is one of the most important things to do. And be present, be communal, and be grateful.
And question things as well. I think a lot of people think like, for example, coming up through school, you're sort of like, right, college is the next step. You need to step after that.
And then
you get a grad job, step after that, then you get a job or whatever.
Yeah.
So on and so on. Whereas if you're sort of like, why do I need to do like if you're, it depends on your interest obviously, but if you're sort of like going down the route of you want to become something and it doesn't really apply to academic stuff,
if you want to, that's completely fine. Like the reason why so many people have done it for the past 100 odd years is because it's a good route to go down. There's definitely stability there, but it's also good to start thinking about learning how to acclimatise to the world that we're going to start living in the next 10, 20, 30 years. And
sort of just ask yourself, what do I enjoy and what do I want to do in my life, rather than going down something because it's an easy route, you're good at something, but you don't enjoy it too much, or it doesn't properly fulfill you. Yeah. It's just not worth it. Yeah. Even if it does make you loads of money that, you know, you're like, it's going to make me 70 grand a year. I'll just work for 9 to 5 and I can enjoy the rest of my time. Yeah. But like, no, you're not going to really feel fulfilled in your life if you don't properly enjoy what you do. Definitely. And if you make a fraction of the money you make in a big corporate job that you don't really like, you're going to have a much better life. I think.
And I don't know this because wouldn't say I'm wealthy, but I think that I don't think success actually brings fulfillment. I think I personally don't think it does. And I think I've heard lots of people that have made multi-millions of pounds that just aren't happy.
Well, it goes back to what you were saying earlier. With those people who do make billions and billions of pounds, why do they still work? They still work because their work fulfills them, and they feel like they're adding to society. And it really does, like, sort of, that's why they get up in the morning, because they want to be able to build something. They want to do something to do good, and they feel like they get proper fulfillment out of that, which is why they carry on working. Yeah, of course. And to them, money's not important really, because it's more of like.
I think probably for a stage of their life, it could have been important. Yes, for a status level. Yeah. So it was like, I want to make £1 million so that I can be seen as this person. Yeah. And then I feel like maybe your brain just advances. Yeah. Well, so it's like, now I've got this money. What is my purpose now that I have this? They
get there. They have the money. And they're like, oh well, that didn't really change anything.
Exactly.
Or it made things worse.
Yeah. So, or you feel like a great dopamine hit from being seen driving a Ferrari. Yeah. And after a week, it gets boring, and you're like, now I want
some of the people who are very, very like wealthy. Yeah. They sort of just don't. They just sort of don't really care. They all.
I think it varies, to be honest. Yeah. But I think you're definitely right. But it's a good conversation to have, to be honest with you, and certainly a good start.
It's just a good thing to think about to yourself, and just even to sit down with makes a few notes about what it means to you, sort of thing. It's good because
I mean we're in no way. Certainly in no way qualified to tell you what to do with your life. Yeah. But if there's any advice I could give on what I've experienced in my life, it is that the opportunity out there is, quite frankly, unmatched to anything in history. And so if you really don't want to conform to the normal societal life, then you genuinely don't have to. If you do, then wonderful. I don't think it's a bad way to live in the slightest. I might end up having a 9 to 5 for the rest of my life, and I wouldn't be that upset at all. I think there's so many positives to it. But I think with the opportunity and just the opportunity there is in this day and age, it would be silly not to think or hopefully aspire to. Yeah.
I think you're like exactly the same person. I think personally for you, I think if you didn't work online, you would be working in the fields with your mum on the sheep, and I don't think you could possibly. Yeah. As a person, I feel like you're I want to explore, I want to do this stuff in nature. And I feel like having that time freedom would be so much easier to be able to do that stuff.
That's why a lot of people do it. I think like a big contributor for why I would like to work, and I do work remotely, is because it is so freeing for me to just travel anywhere. Like my parents live in two completely different parts of the country, so I have the freedom to be able to go there at any point, and you've never really been able to do that in history until the past like 5-10 years.
Yeah.
And it's never been more doable and never been more easy, especially with stuff like AI. Like, I don't want to go around in circles too much, but I think the point is just, just weigh up your options. And I don't know if following your passion is the right thing to do in life.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. But I think it's good to think about leaving the world in a better place than how you found it.
Yeah, or just leaving.
Thank you very much. Motivational over here.
Yeah, I think it's just important.
But I don't know. I'm just waffling now.
Important just to.
The thing we're about. I'm probably well out of touch with the podcast.
We're still 21, 22. So we still know absolutely nothing.
Yeah,
and this is
the point. Of
we're
the
just relaying to you through our experiences, what we've learned. You could have very different opinions
and we'd love to hear it.
Yeah,
like I would love to have somebody,
and that's the whole point of
Communicode.
Communicode.
What I think. Yeah,
we go through and we look at different people's lives and what they've experienced. We learn from them.
Exactly.
They can hopefully learn something from us and what we've experienced.
Yeah, I think it's just about being open-minded.
Yeah,
really,
and we can grow as people together.
Yeah,
which is
and having the level of like humility in your life to not be certain about things is like one of the most important things that I try to integrate into my life. Yeah. So yeah, but I think for a welcome back episode, that was pretty decent.
Yeah,
and it's always a pleasure.
Yeah.
And if you've got this far, then
drop us like a message or an email or something. We'd love to hear from you. It'd be great to have a conversation.
If you have got this far in the video and you're watching on YouTube, then comment Jacob is a lovely human. And I'll really appreciate that if you've listened. I don't even know what minute we are now, but good little entry back. Keep your eye out for the next couple of weeks. I have no idea who the guest is going to be.
We've got some
but we do have some
plans.
Pretty fantastic people that we are going to have on.
Yeah.
That will hopefully teach us a lot. We're constantly open to learning, constantly open to vulnerability. If anybody wants to get in touch with us, we are the people that are trying our best to be as communal as possible. So we welcome you with open arms.
Yeah, please
keep an eye out for the community.
It'd be lovely to hear from people in the community to just have a chat. Even if you don't want to put it online or anything, we're just happy to have a chat.
Yeah, big time.
Do anything.
Time. Yeah.
So thanks so much for listening.
Leave a like if you want to. No stress.
And we'll see you in the next couple of weeks, I think.
Yep. See you in a couple of weeks. Goodbye.